He smiled while he destroyed her. In front of friends. In front of family. At their own anniversary party. And he had no idea that just hours earlier, his wife had inherited a $1.3 trillion real estate empire that could erase his entire future with one phone call. The music was soft. The lights were warm. Gold balloons floated near the ceiling, reading 10 years of love. Everyone clapped as Ethan Miller stood up, holding a glass of champagne. Beside him sat his wife, Claire Miller, wearing a simple blue dress. Her smile was quiet. Her hands rested gently on the table. She thought this night was about love. She was wrong. "Thank you all for coming," Ethan said, tapping his glass. "Tonight is special. 10 years of marriage is not easy." People laughed. Someone cheered. Claire looked at him with soft eyes. She waited for his hand to find hers. It didn't. Ethan took a breath. His voice changed. "But sometimes," he continued, "people grow apart. Sometimes you realize you married the wrong person." The room went silent. Claire's smile froze. "What?" someone whispered. Ethan turned toward her, not with love but with relief. "Claire, I think it's time to stop pretending. This marriage is over." Gasps filled the room. Claire's heart dropped. "Ethan," she whispered, "what are you doing?" He didn't lower his voice. He wanted everyone to hear. "I'm divorcing you," he said flatly. "Tonight." Someone dropped a fork. Someone else covered their mouth. Claire stood slowly. Her legs felt weak. "At our anniversary party?" she asked softly. Ethan shrugged. "It felt like the right time. I didn't want to keep lying." Lying. Her mind raced. Then she noticed Emma Collins, her best friend since college, standing beside Ethan. Emma stepped forward, holding his arm. "And since we're being honest," Emma said gently, pretending to sound kind, "Ethan and I are in love." The room exploded. "No way. That's her best friend. This is cruel." Claire felt like the floor had disappeared. "Emma," she whispered, "you knew about this party. You helped me plan it." Emma looked away. "I didn't want to hurt you. But love is love." Ethan squeezed Emma's hand. "I deserve someone who matches my ambition," he said. "Someone strong. Someone successful." His eyes flicked to Claire's dress, her calm posture. "Not someone who just exists." Those words cut deep. Claire swallowed hard. She felt every eye on her. Pity, shock, judgment. They all thought the same thing. Poor Claire. She gave everything to this man. And he threw her away. No one knew what she had learned that morning. Just 6 hours earlier, Claire had been sitting in a quiet law office when a lawyer slid a thick folder across the desk. "Mrs. Miller," he said carefully, "your grandfather's estate has been finalized." She remembered laughing nervously. "I know he owned some buildings." The lawyer had adjusted his glasses. Not some. He owned over 4,000 properties worldwide. Commercial towers. Residential land. Entire districts. He paused. "The total value is approximately $1.3 trillion. Claire thought it was a joke. It wasn't. She hadn't told Ethan yet. She wanted to wait until tonight, their anniversary, to share the news. Now he was divorcing her. Publicly. For her best friend. Back in the ballroom, Ethan raised his glass again. "I think it's best Claire leaves now," he said. "This is a celebration, just not for her anymore." People shifted uncomfortably. Claire looked at the faces around her. None of them stood up for her. She nodded slowly. "Okay," she said. Her calm surprised them. She picked up her purse and turned toward the exit. As she walked past Ethan, he leaned close and whispered, "You'll be fine. I'll make sure you get something small in the divorce." She stopped, looked at him, and smiled just a little. He mistook it for weakness. He had no idea. That smile meant he had just lost everything. Claire didn't cry when she left the ballroom. She walked past the valet stand, past the glowing lights, and into the cool night air. Her chest felt tight, but her face stayed calm. Inside, the party continued. Ethan laughed. Emma leaned into him. Glasses clinked. They thought the story was over. It wasn't. Claire sat in the back seat of the car, hands folded in her lap. The city lights blurred past the window. Her phone buzzed. Unknown number. She answered. Claire, a deep voice said gently. This is Daniel Brooks. I'm your grandfather's chief legal advisor. She closed her eyes. Yes. I just received confirmation, he continued. The final transfer documents were signed an hour ago. Her heart beat once. Hard. It's official, Daniel said. You now control the Brooks Global Real Estate Trust. Claire took a slow breath. What does that mean, exactly? It means, he said, choosing his words carefully, every property, every company, every executive board now answers to you. Silence filled the car. I also want you to know, Daniel added, your husband's company, Miller Development Group, leases 7 major properties from the trust. Claire's fingers tightened. Leases. From her. She thanked him and ended the call. The car stopped in front of the hotel where they lived. She didn't go inside. Instead, she asked the driver to take her somewhere else. A quiet office building downtown. An hour later, Claire sat in a glass-walled conference room. Daniel Brooks stood across from her, along with 2 other lawyers. On the table were documents, charts, maps, and names. Daniel spoke calmly. Your grandfather built this empire quietly. He believed power worked best when no one knew where it came from. Claire nodded. He never liked attention. Daniel slid a folder toward her. These are the executive teams. These are the subsidiary companies. And these, he paused. These are the people who depend on your signature. She opened the folder. And there it was. Miller Development Group. Her husband's pride. The company he bragged about. The company he said she didn't help. Daniel continued. Their largest projects sit on land owned by your trust. Without renewal, construction stops. Funding freezes. Claire stared at the name. So if I do nothing, she asked. They collapse, Daniel said simply. She closed the folder. I don't want revenge, she said quietly. Daniel met her eyes. Then what do you want? She thought of Ethan's voice. Not someone who just exists. I want fairness, she said. The next morning, Ethan woke up feeling powerful. He scrolled through messages. Congratulations poured in. Friends praised his honesty. Emma was asleep beside him, smiling. This is the beginning, he whispered to her. At the office. Ethan's assistant stood frozen in the doorway. Ethan, she said quietly, we have a problem. He frowned. What kind of problem? She swallowed. The investors are asking questions. The city paused 2 permits this morning. Ethan laughed. That's normal. It happens. She didn't laugh back. And our legal team just called, she continued. They said our largest land leases are under review. Ethan's smile faded. Under review by who? She hesitated. By the Brooks Global Real Estate Trust. The name hit him like cold water. That trust doesn't interfere, he said. They never do. Not this time, she replied. Ethan waved his hand. Tell legal to handle it. But legal couldn't handle it. By noon, emails flooded his inbox. Project delays. Funding concerns. Emergency board meeting. Ethan's phone rang again. This time, it was a number he didn't recognize. He answered sharply. Yes. Mr. Miller, a calm voice said. This is Daniel Brooks. Ethan straightened. Yes, sir. I'm calling on behalf of the Brooks Global Real Estate Trust. Ethan's chest tightened. There have been changes in leadership, Daniel continued. And as a result, all lease agreements are being reviewed for compliance. Ethan forced a laugh. Of course. Happy to cooperate. Daniel paused. One more thing, he added. Your presence will be required at a meeting tomorrow morning. Ethan exhaled. No problem. The line went dead. That night, Emma sensed the shift. You seem tense, she said, running a hand over his arm. It's nothing, Ethan replied. Just business. But his sleep was restless. The next morning, Ethan entered the Brooks Trust headquarters. The building was quiet, powerful, intimidating. He was escorted into a large conference room. Executives sat around the table. And at the head of the table, Claire. Ethan stopped walking. Claire, he whispered. What are you doing here? She stood slowly. Good morning, Ethan, she said calmly. Daniel Brooks stepped forward. Allow me to introduce the new controlling chair of the Brooks Global Real Estate Trust. Ethan's heart began to race. Mrs. Claire Miller. The room stayed silent. Ethan laughed nervously. This is a joke. Claire didn't smile. Daniel continued. As of yesterday, all authority has transferred to Mrs. Miller. Ethan turned pale. You own this, he stammered. Yes, Claire said simply. His mind scrambled. You should have told me, he said desperately. She tilted her head. You told me I wasn't ambitious, she replied. You never asked what I was building. The room watched in silence. Claire sat down. Let's talk business, she said. She slid a folder toward him. These are your lease violations, she explained. Late filings. Unapproved changes. Misuse of land. Ethan's hands shook as he flipped through the pages. These projects will be paused until corrections are made. Emma's words echoed in his head. She just exists. Claire, please, he whispered. We can talk about this privately. She met his eyes. We are. He swallowed hard. This isn't personal, she added. It's just the truth catching up. Daniel stood. The meeting is adjourned. Ethan walked out of the building like a man in a dream. His phone buzzed. Emma. He didn't answer. For the first time in his life, he realized he had underestimated the one person who truly mattered. Ethan sat alone in his office long after everyone else had left. The city lights outside his window blurred as he stared at his phone. No messages. No congratulations. No Emma. For the first time, the silence spoke louder than applause ever had. The next morning, the board meeting was short. Too short. One by one, directors asked questions Ethan couldn't answer. Why were lease terms ignored? Why wasn't compliance reported? Why did you assume the trust would stay quiet forever? Ethan tried to explain, but excuses sounded small when power was gone. By the end of the meeting, the decision was clear. His role was under review. That afternoon, Emma finally called. What's going on? She asked sharply. People are saying your company might collapse. Ethan rubbed his face. Claire owns the trust. Silence. Owns what? Emma whispered. The land. The buildings. Everything. Emma's voice changed. You never told me she had money. I didn't know, he snapped. She never said anything. Emma paused. So she was rich, and you humiliated her in public. Her tone wasn't loving anymore. It was calculating. I didn't know, he repeated. Emma exhaled slowly. I need space, she said. This is too much. The line went dead. That night, Ethan went to Claire's apartment. Not their old home. Her new one. Security stopped him. I need to see my wife, he said. The guard checked his list. She's expecting you, he replied. Ethan was escorted into a private lounge. Claire stood near the window. She looked different now. Not louder. Not colder. Just unshaken. I'm sorry, Ethan said quickly. I made a terrible mistake. She didn't turn around. You didn't make one mistake, she said calmly. You made a pattern. He stepped closer. I was scared, he said. You were quiet. I thought you didn't want more. She turned to face him. I wanted peace, she said. You wanted applause. He dropped his head. I regret everything. She nodded once. I believe you. Hope flashed in his eyes. But then she added, and regret doesn't change consequences. She handed him an envelope. Inside were the final divorce terms. Fair, clean, unforgiving. You'll be okay, she said. Just not with me. His hands trembled. You don't hate me. No, she replied. I outgrew you. Those words hurt more than anger ever could. Weeks later, the news spread quietly. Miller Development downsized. Projects stalled. Investors pulled back. Ethan faded from the spotlight. Claire didn't celebrate. She built. She traveled. She hired leaders who respected silence over ego. One evening, she stood on a balcony overlooking the city. Daniel joined her. You handled this with grace, he said. She smiled softly. I learned something important. What's that? People show you who they are when they think you're small. She lifted her glass. And I'll never make myself small again. If this story made you feel something, hit like so YouTube knows you want more stories like this. Subscribe if you enjoy powerful stories where the truth always wins. And comment below. What would you have done if you were Claire? Your comment helps the channel grow. And the next story is even more shocking.